Hey, welcome back to Damon's Metal Casting. On this video, I'd like to do a casting of the Deadpool logo. So I went ahead and made a little 3D print of the Deadpool logo, sanded it, and then I primed it, sanded it some more, and then finally painted it with Rust-Oleum's professional grade spray paint. So you can see that is a great surface. Not only is it a good surface, it has good draft angles and shallow draft angles, so this should cast really well. So I should be able to see if the metal is a good casting metal that I want to try this time, since I want to try a different metal than I normally use. So one of the metals that I've used that you've seen in my other videos is hard drive chassis. Hard drive chassis are great. They melt down, they have a good flow, and they come out shiny, and it's a pretty good material, whatever alloy is used in casting hard drives. The other alloy that I used before and had a success with is this is just some bracket off of a car, and I've also used air intake manifolds to engines before and cut them up, and anything that's cast aluminum that's in a car works pretty decent. The new type of aluminum that I got, the guy at the salvage yard charges a little bit more for, about 10 cents a pound more. And so I wanted to try it just to see what the properties were, since it's a little bit more valuable than the other aluminum. So I picked up a rim, and we're going to cut this rim up, probably with a plasma cutter, and see what we can do. There's some horribly thick parts on this thing that I'm not sure if I want to get through unless I use a sawzall or something, but my plasma cutter definitely won't go through an inch. But we'll get the thin stuff on it, and we'll use that to go ahead and see if we can cast the Deadpool pattern out of and see how well it turns out. All right, let's go pound sand, but in a good way.
Here I am trying to tear up that big rim with my plasma cutter. The bright white sparks coming off of it is the aluminum burning. You can definitely tell the difference between cutting aluminum and iron because of how bright the sparks are that come off of it. And the other thing too is plasma cutters do a horrible job on aluminum. They kind of melt it and make jagged edges rather than smooth cuts. So it's just a way to get it apart. It's not a great way, but it's a way to get that wheel cut down to size to fit in the crucible. And that was my neighbor hitting the car behind him as they backed out. The talcum powder that I use, I get from Amazon as tire talc. I brush it on with a makeup brush because I don't really care to get it into my lungs. It's pretty hazardous. The primer that I use is Rust-Oleum Automotive 2-in-1 filler and sandable primer. It sticks really well to 3D prints. Plus, I could layer it if I need to put more layers of primer on there. It does a good job of layering. For the final coat, I use Rust-Oleum Professional High Performance Enamel. It seems to do a lot better than their standard spray paint, and it's only a few dollars more. I included my son in this video. He decided he wanted to help out, so there he is scraping the top of the mold, and you'll hear me talk back and forth in the video that's sped up to him. So for the parting powder, I do use baby powder, the one that contains cornstarch. It's not good for patterns, but it's good enough to have the cope and the drag separate. So instead of dusting talc everywhere, which is an inhalation hazard, I just rather use baby powder for that. It's a lot safer. I also use it to dust the board too, for the sand not to stick to the board that I'm building the mold on. So I saw other YouTubers try and make basins doing this method with just pushing the pipe into the sand. And I wasn't so successful. I kind of tore up the sides and everything. And one YouTuber I saw even machined a little ring to hold down on the sand so when the tube was removed, it wouldn't tear it up. I might machine one of those or go back to just cutting a basin how I usually made it. But this does form a nice little overflow at the side of it. That's better than the basins that I've usually done. So I'm kind of indifferent to it right now. So I'm just making air holes in the mold. I'm gonna think about using a bigger tube because those do fill up with aluminum. Also, using compressed air is one of the best things anybody ever told me about. Posting my videos, I get criticism here and there, and a lot of it's constructive, and I appreciate it. And one of them was just use air compressor to blow out the mold, to gently blow it out. And there's a lot less pitting from the sand being loose in the mold. Once you get that loose sand out, you're doing pretty good. And again, the talc powder works great on the part. You can see the mold is just clean in there, and the part just fell out without tearing the edges. I'll pick up the crucible and set that in there. There you go. Don't drop it either, just gently set it. So the sputtering and puffing that you're hearing is just because I turned the propane way down on my melt furnace. That way the heat is reduced quite a bit, so I can pull the slag out and also add more aluminum. The melt furnace I got from Amazon, it was a good furnace to start learning on and seeing what I like and don't like about it. One of the things I definitely don't like, whoever made it does not melt metal, because they put the torch right in the center of the melt furnace, and it should be to the side, so that way the actual flame will spiral around the crucible and give it a more even heat. You know, just one of the things that you learn when you buy stuff down the road. Also, I really like casting, and so I kind of wish I got a bigger melt furnace, but you know, I don't feel like I wasted money. I felt like I just learned a lot of things about melting metals, and now that I really like it, I'll probably get a bigger one more down the road, but this is fine for now. That is glowing so bright.
Wish I could see it.
And yep, I'm still lagging on getting some lifting tongs to pull the crucible out of there. I'll have them done one day. One of the reasons I like melting at night is you can see the crucible is bright orange. And I'm getting used to kind of understanding what temperature it's at, because I try and take the temperature and pour it between 1300 and 1400 degrees Fahrenheit. And I have a little probe that I bought off of Amazon for that. And by time it gets down to about 1400 degrees Fahrenheit, that crucible starts turning to a grayish color again. And so I'll take it now, and I think it was at like 1560 or 1550 degrees Fahrenheit when I took it. So I had to wait a little bit for that to cool down. Way too hot. It's like 1500.
Jesus.
1577 or so.
Is it still bright red?
The aluminum is.
Yeah.
Alright, it's dropping us down to 1440.
Alright. got a good angle. There you go.
Just turn it over. There you go. Good job, bud.
Nice.
Yeah, that casting came out pretty good. The aluminum worked out really well from that wheel. Also, don't forget to stay and watch the end of my video. I got a new addition to my shop. I'll show it at the end. This is my Captain Morgan stance because the base is so lousy on my saw. There's a saying that cameras put about 10 pounds on you, and it does. It puts 10 pounds on my belly, 10 pounds on my chin, and 10 pounds on my second chin. Well, that came out pretty good. Patterns on the left and the actual castings on the right. And you can see how smooth the pattern was, and it came off pretty good. The aluminum from the rim works pretty well. There you can see how well it's prepped. Perfectly smooth. Took quite a bit of time to make sure I got everything knocked out of that, so that way I'd get a good casting. I think the actual part came out pretty good. All I did was cut the sprues off and face the back on the belt sander, and then I polished it with the buffing wheel. There's no sanding whatsoever except on the back side of it, but the front side is just polished with the buffing wheel.
So thanks again for watching my channel. If you like what you saw and you want to see some more, make sure you subscribe. Also, I got a little distracted this Black Friday after Thanksgiving. Anycubic had one of their largest 3D printers on sale, and I'm just like, man, I'm tired of sanding. So I picked me up a resin printer. So hopefully I can get some videos coming sooner than later of using some resin prints, because I really think those will be the way to go. You know, after it prints off, I imagine all it'd take is like one layer of primer and then the final paint, and pretty much done. There shouldn't be very much sanding on these to go for casting in aluminum. So stick with me and we'll get to this one of these days. And thanks again for watching my channel, and don't forget I got other videos on casting also. Thanks again.